Today we have with us Derek Rydall, the creator of Life Code Framework and the author of A Whole New Human, who helps purpose-driven creators, leaders, and seekers to uncover the deeper identity, destiny, and design that they were born with so they can build aligned wealth, purpose, and impact in an AI reshaped world. Through his books, transformational programs, and a growing media ecosystem, Derek guides high achievers to break inherited survival patterns, integrate their shadows, and awaken their authentic intelligence that makes them impossible to replace. Now, Derek's journey through near-death awakening, years as a monk, rising to a multi-seven-figure and then almost losing everything, and then rebuilding his life's work. This demonstrates the power of living from your true inner code rather than old survival programming. And while navigating one of the most intense and creative chapters in his life, he is teaching in real time what it means to evolve, reclaim sovereignty, and become fully expressed when the world is changing faster than ever. Yeah, it is. Derek, welcome to the show.
Wow. How do I book you to follow me everywhere I go and introduce me, man? But I've done hundreds of interviews, and that is by far the best introduction I've ever heard. I want to know this Derek guy.
He sounds really cool, right?
He sounds
But
really cool, man.
hey, and you
That's
got that in a
really
British
amazing.
accent. That's what it's all
So, all
about.
right. I want to know this Derek guy. I think I'm getting a little cockney now.
You are a little bit. That's gone a little bit that way. Anyway, Derek, just to kick us off, I mean, can you just expand a touch more on, where you are today with your business and who is it that you help the most?
Yeah, well, I mean, you said it all, really. And I help heart-centered or mission-driven entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, healers, transformational leaders, change makers and again, when I say creators, I've helped media moguls, Academy Award winners, Emmy winners, to songwriters, to artists, to filmmakers, because I've also been on a journey myself through that world but also many, Fortune 500 execs, tech people. So it's a variety of people, but what they all have in common is there's something in them and they want to get it out. They know they're here for more. They know they're made for more. They want to know what they're really made of and made for and how to live it and make a difference and impact and yes, a great living from it. So, and that's been my journey my whole life since I was a kid and I was an artist. And my dad said, artists live below the poverty level. You can't be an artist, kid. You got to be a
Uh-huh.
businessman. You got to be like me. And I'm like, no, Dad, please believe in me. And he meant well, but I had to prove that there was something in me that was only unique to me, and I'm going to prove I can be successful. So my whole journey has been answering that question and proving it.
Then let's talk about that moment because I think that moment for a lot of business people, entrepreneurs, hell, human beings is
Yeah.
a really crazy. There's guilt, there's frustration to know that you're made for more. There's something else, but also
Yes.
there's the contradiction of you have the family, the business, the house, you have the material items. So we speak about this all the time about the contradiction there. I think from your experience, can you just unpack that moment where someone comes to you and maybe they don't know what they want, but they know there's something, that
Yes.
confusing moment. Can you just unpack that?
Yeah, I mean, again, that because what I like to say, the workshop you've been living is the one you're meant to be giving. And so, I teach what I've lived for my whole life, but definitely the last 25 years, how to answer that question. What am I made of and made for, and how do I get it out of me, and how do I launch it into the world in a successful and sustainable way? That's what I do all the time. Whether I'm at a party or a church or in a workshop, I'm helping to pull out of people what is it that you're really made of and here for, that irreplaceable, that unique pattern. And I bring them into a series of questions, but also give them the container and the support to
Hmm.
get clarity, to have the courage. It takes courage to tell the truth first to yourself. This exact job or this other job or this thing that's making my living, but it's ultimately crushing my soul. To tell the truth because we are creatures first and foremost adapted to survival. And it's
Mm.
understandable. And I want everybody to survive, but I want you to thrive even more. So giving them the right container and the right questions that help draw out of them if you really could be who you really want to be and do what you want to do, or even if they already have a successful business, but when people hit the glass ceiling, when they hit the wall, when they can't get to that next level, whether it's an income level or a reach level, it's you are always the bottleneck fundamentally, and something about your belief system, your mindset, there's a threshold. And I can help people see where they've sacrificed a little bit of what's authentic or original or their true
Mm,
value because they didn't believe they could really be. You mean I can really be who I am? You mean I can really honor my voice? You mean I can
mm,
really build a business that is aligned with my deeper values and I can still make a living, et cetera, et cetera? Because like all of us, they've had a lot of experiences where like when they tried to be who they were, they got made fun of, they got in trouble, they got fired, their dad didn't approve of them, whatever.
mm. But what do you find is actually holding them back the most? So if you could like resolve level one problems
Mhm.
and everyone starts at level two, what are those things that hold people back from
Yes.
either seeking help or starting on that path? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, again, the first thing we've been indoctrinated not to be who we really are and do what we're here for. That is not how we've been educated or
Mm,
indoctrinated. We've been educated and indoctrinated to fit into a factory model still. And we've been educated and indoctrinated to be a cog in the wheel of machines that are already running, not
mm,
which, by the way, is completely the opposite of the real meaning of the word education. It comes from a Latin word that means educere or educare, which means to educe out. Education is meant to discover what is in you. Let's pull it out. But what it's become
mm.
is let's fill you up with a bunch of stuff. So the first problem is we've been indoctrinated and conditioned and even hypnotized into
Yeah.
believing our value and our worth has something to do with fitting in, going along to get along, bringing what the world or our family or our culture or our company says is valuable. And so we've just been trained to do that. So the first thing is I help people break that bad training and have
Mm,
the courage and the space and the clarity and the guidance to get back to what is the original operating system that they were born with. And there's clues everywhere. There's clues everywhere to what's really in you trying to come out. So that's the first thing. Most people ask 100 people, what do you really want? If I was a
mhm.
genie, I could grant the wish and you could be who you really want to be and do what really lights you up, makes you come alive. And they're like, and they can't, they go right to all the problems, the fears, why it won't work, how do I make
Mm.
money? And I'm like, okay, save that for later. Asking how will kill the what every time. First, come back to the what. As Dr. Howard Thurman, who was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s teacher, said, don't ask what the world wants. Ask what makes you come alive and do that. Because what the
Mhm.
world needs are people who have come alive. So I get them back to what makes them come alive. That's step one.
Beautiful. Well, you're on the Unforget Yourself show. Unforget yourself. Remember you. Remember that you're the
Yeah.
most important aspect in your life and your business, but also
Yes.
that your happiness truly does matter. We just, damn it, we've forgotten along the way as
Yeah.
people, as a society. So
Yeah.
one thing I want to come back to that you said earlier, those three areas. I love things in threes. It makes things so much simpler. What am I made for? How do I get it out? And how to do it sustainably? I would
Yeah.
like to focus on that third one that I think is rarely spoken about to know what am I made for and how to get it out, but to do that in a sustainable way because you can kill the real dream from the real place with doing something that's unmanageable, unsustainable, even if you love it. I think that's an
Yes.
important nuance. Can you unpack that?
Absolutely. And just before, if I could just go back for 1 second, because I really want people to get this principle. And this is the principle that I discovered when I had a near-death experience that cracked me open and transformed my whole life, led to joining a monastery. It's a long story, but the discover I had was that I was the guy trying to make it happen, hit all those
Mm,
markers, and it nearly killed me. And that I discovered that there's a pattern in every seed. There's a pattern of the oak inside the acorn, pattern of the apple seed, tree inside the apple seed, and there's a pattern of you inside you. And nature can never grow anything that goes against its nature. No matter
Mm.
how strong Mother Nature is, she cannot make an acorn an apple tree. The problem is with our self-consciousness and all this conditioning, we are often trying to become something that is against our nature. And if you try to grow against your nature, that is the cause of most struggling, suffering, lack, limitation, becoming broke emotionally and financially. And so it's very important to know it's not just the nice to have. It's not just, well, I'll get to what is my real nature once I figure out how to monetize it. No, you don't understand. You'll
Uh-huh.
never make it successfully if you're not growing the right seed, right? The first thing a gardener has to know is, what is this seed? Okay, now I know what the seed is. Now I can create the right conditions for it. So that gets
Hmm.
to, how do you grow it? You have to create the right conditions that are a match for that seed. If you're a polar bear and you've been conditioned to believe you're a black bear and you grow up in the forest, you're not going to thrive versus so you got to know your nature, and then you got to create the conditions that are congruent so that it can
Mm.
grow and thrive. And that's a big piece of sustainability, because again, we build lives and we build businesses that are against our nature, right? We were talking about this before we started. A creative individual, naturally, philosophical, creative. And when I build and design my business, which I have many times, that becomes more metrics based and outcomes based, and I build the empire and monstrosity of complexity, I make a lot
Hmm.
more money. And I've made millions and millions of dollars that way. And I'm a polar bear in the desert, and I start to stagnate, I start to suffer. It's unsustainable.
Mm.
So knowing your nature, what you're made of and made for, designing the conditions that are congruent to that, like you wouldn't put a plant that needs a lot of shade in the bright sun and a plant that needs a lot of sun in the dark. And that's what we do. Go ahead.
Okay, so the question is the simple question, how does one know their nature? If that's the most important thing, and it sounds like it's the simplest thing, but it's sneaky, it's hidden. As you said, we've been indoctrinated to be able to fit in, to be a cog, to do this.
Yes,
It's a shift to be like, you mean
it's
I
hard.
can I can do what I want. I can say what I want. What do I want? How do I want to? There's almost it can be overwhelming.
100%. Now I know you guys don't pull any punches, right? So, maybe some people will give you simple cookie cutter responses, but I'm here to be a truth teller and in service of the highest good, no matter the cost, even if it's hard to hear. Sometimes you have to comfort the afflicted, but a lot of times you have to afflict the comfortable. And
Mm.
so the fact is, it is really fucking hard. Okay? It is really hard. This is why the first principle of self-improvement, the OG Oracle of Delphi, said, know thyself. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't, and when it says in Proverbs, where there is no vision, the people perish. It didn't say where there is no vision, you don't lose the last 5 pounds, you don't make six figures on that webinar. It says you die. If not literally, you become a zombie, which is why we have so many zombie movies, because that's what's happened. So knowing
Mm.
yourself, knowing yourself, knowing yourself, there is nothing more important. And then secondarily, knowing why you exist. So I know it's hard, but it's hard because if we're honest, how much time and energy have we really spent answering that question? And if you're honest, very, very, very little. You don't ask, what am I really made of and made for? What do I really truly want? And am I having the courage to be it? You ask, how do I make a living? How do I get liked? How do they approve of me? How do I not fail? How do I not lose money? How do I make sure it works? These are the questions we ask. Now, those are important questions, but they're asked in the wrong order. If you ask how and money and survival and approval and validation and will it work before you know what it is, you will fail or you will struggle or you will stagnate. And I've been doing this for 25 years. I've worked with hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs, mission driven people, creators, coaches, authors. And I'm telling you what I know when I say this. If you don't get anchored in who and what you really are first, the rest of it is going to be very challenging, and you won't be able to
Mm.
experience the fulfillment and the abundance that really makes you come alive. So, but there's clues. It doesn't take years to do it, right? You got to start by asking if I really truly believed I could succeed and I would be loved, I would be supported, who would I really want to be? What would I really want to do? How would I really want to make a difference? What would matter to me most? And if you sit in that contemplation and start excavating that, you'll start to uncover what I call your life code, that unique pattern of purpose, embodied wisdom. Now, that's like a framework, but then you can say, now, if I could be that person and bring those values in any way that lights me up the most, now it'll start to focus in on a mission or a vehicle. Well, I would most want to do it for podcasters. I would most want to do it for communicators. I would, if I really, you mean really, I could really do it? I would want to do it for single mothers. I'd want to help women. I'd want to help mission-driven entrepreneurs that are stuck in the rat race in the system and killing themselves, how to get whatever that is. Then you can ask another question. Okay, now I know who I am and what I stand for, my values, the life I want to live, the kind of expressions and creativity and whatever. And now I've narrowed it into a mission or a niche. Now I
Mm.
can go even further and go, now if I could be that person, if I could bring those values, if I could make this kind of a difference for entrepreneurs or for mothers or whatever, what is the vehicle, the specific vehicle I would most want to do it in? Would I want to do it in video, in audio, in writing, in teaching, in speaking? You see, so you're narrowing it down. I would want to help people remember themselves, unforget themselves, because I had a journey of abandoning myself. I gave away my power, my voice, and God damn it, I'm not willing to do that anymore. If you want to know the truth, there it is. Like now I'm standing in power. And now, if I could do it in anybody, I would do it for single mothers. They're not going to step over their voice anymore, God damn it. All right, now we're cooking. And now, if I could do it in any way, I would have a podcast and I would have you guys help me launch it. Great, now we're getting somewhere. And
Yeah.
then now you can start to apply the machine and the strategies of success in this world. Now you've built the machine from the inside out, and now, how do I monetize? How do I scale? What are the KPIs? How can I build the structures so that I don't forget myself again, but now I've got it in the right order. You build a house from the ground up, not from the roof down, and that's what we've been doing.
Nice. Now, I want to talk about that application that you hinted about because this is great questions, lovely inner work. But I want to talk about, yeah, the application and mistakes because with this, knowing that, answering that, feeling that, and then going out and doing it and realizing, hold on, I think I was wrong. It's not that person, it's this one. So there's an evolution that
Yes.
can you talk about play and mistakes as you apply this?
Yes. Yeah. Well, how does a child learn? How does a child learn to walk? They learn by falling a lot.
Uh-huh.
What is walking? It is controlled falling, quite literally. You haven't stopped falling. You've just learned to catch yourself. Fall, catch, fall, catch, fall, catch. That's called walking. Do it really fast. That's called running. So success, and how did evolution get us here? A lot of failures and mistakes. Mostly failures and mistakes, but just enough successful connections that we are now here.
Mm.
So the problem is that's how evolution happens before you bring consciousness in. That's how a child grows before you indoctrinate them into fear of failure and number one need of survival. They fall all over the place as they evolve. They try everything, they put everything in their mouth, and they evolve into adaptive creatures that are naturally expressing their unique self. And then they start to get the message. You can't do that. That's wrong. Don't play in the dirt all day. Read a book. Don't read all day. Play in the dirt. Wait, what? And so you get all these messages, and it causes you, because of survival, love, a
Mm.
need for safety, all that, to start to bottle up the natural evolutionary capacity of growth. And now you build a strategy inside a matrix of survival and going along to get along. And now that's how most humans live. But you don't have to, and that capacity isn't gone. You have to get back to the childlike, evolutionarily adaptive way that you were designed to grow. And that is, first of all, what we started with. And now you have to run the experiments. You have to have your little field guide and take notes as you run experiments. And you don't have to run it all the way. Don't go out and spend $1 million on that first hit. This is who I
Hmm.
am. Okay, well, let's test it out, right?
Yeah.
Let's see it. And I don't mean test it out like let's see if you make money. I mean, let's test it out and see if there's some resonance, if it makes you come alive, if it starts to create a connection, right? And there's a way to do that step by step. That's again, it's more natural to us than we think. Again, we've forgotten it. It's again how a
Mm.
baby walks, how a baby learns to talk. They don't learn to talk by, well, I'll speak when I can do it in perfect grammar and syntax. No, they're like, blah, 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 blah. Oh, hey, I got a word. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I got two words. Hey, I put them together. That's how we learn. And so when I first started this, I put out a lot of crappy videos, right? Don't get it right, just get it written. Don't get it right, as Seth Godin says, just ship it. So there
Well,
is a degree. Yeah, go ahead.
can you make this real for us? Because I mean, crumbs, we could spend like hours talking about your history and
Sure.
the evolution and the experience you've been on. But I think, can you
Mhm.
highlight the play and the mistakes, like in the here and the now with your business, as you launch your new book, as you
Yeah.
continue to grow, as you've completely scaled and changed your business model? What, how does play and mistakes come in to where you are in this present moment?
Well, let me give a quick definition of play because play is the where basically the masculine is all about tomorrow. Sacrifice today for tomorrow. The feminine energy is about sacrifice tomorrow for today. Both are important. You have to be
Mm.
present now. You have to be embodied and present now. That's the feminine energy. I don't just mean women, I mean the feminine. The masculine is like you have to sacrifice pleasure and all that now for tomorrow's gain and growth. When you integrate the two, that becomes play, right? That's the Tao, that's the integration. When you have a vision for your life and you've created the conditions for your thriving and what makes you come alive, and you have created an integration with just enough risk for tomorrow and just enough what makes me come alive today. So I'm writing a book because writing makes me come alive now. And in the moment of writing, I don't care what anybody thinks. This brings me joy. I'm made for this. But I'm also designed and determined what ultimately I'm going to do with this book. Why I have the what, but now the how is how am I going to leverage it, build a platform around it. And now, even when I don't feel like writing it, I show up for the future of it. And now you put that together and it creates this flow where there is a sense of play and passion and adventure
Mm.
because I've got just enough stakes, just enough pressure and challenge. Because that's the other thing, and from an evolutionary standpoint, we grow through the proper challenge. If you don't have a tiger chasing you, you got to still create some challenge. If you don't go to the gym and tear your muscles, they're not going to grow. So you have to create enough challenge that activates that evolutionarily adaptive impulse in you. There's got to be stakes. It's got to matter. Otherwise, it becomes hedonism or just creativity with no purpose. And that doesn't become play ultimately. That starts to stagnate too.
Just enough challenge. I think there's some magic in those words because as entrepreneurs, as humans, we're like, we create too much. We get way too much stress on
You
the
do create too
smallest
much.
things. I know that that's my trait. I over everything's an emergency when actually, no, almost nothing is. But this
Yes.
having
Emerge
just,
and see.
but that just enough challenge, just enough stress, just
Yeah.
enough pleasure. If we can have just enough of this, and then they all, it's an ecosystem that works beautifully together. So that just enough. I think those are some great words.
Well, yeah, you got to move out of an ecosystem, which is survival and proving, to an ecosystem, which is about designing structures that all serve each other interdependently and adaptively. So that's why you got to start with knowing what you're made of and made for. You got to have a vision that's bigger than you, a goal that you must become a new person to achieve. You must become the change you want to see,
Mm.
or it's not going to pull that out of you. Most people set goals either that are like, I can do that, so I'll do that. That's not a goal. that's going to keep you on the same level. You're not going to get through it. It's easier to get what you really, 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 really want than just what you think you should or could. And so you got to set a goal, but then you also got to set that goal not from some external idea of I need to make millions of dollars because, and you've never made dollar one. Because if you make it too big, go into the gym if you've only lifted 50 pounds and look at all these muscular people and go, I'm going to lift 300, you'll hurt yourself, if not worse. And you won't end up, you'll tear a muscle so bad you won't go back to the gym. So how do you know that? It's hot, it's too cold, it's the Goldilocks. You gotta test. You gotta go, well, what if I charge this much? What if I charge this much? It starts to feel dull and boring and not fair. Okay, this starts to
Yeah.
feel insane, impossible. Okay, now let's
Yeah.
go back. Ooh, that feels scary but exciting. Okay, now we're on it. So too boring, not enough, too incredible. Oh my God, I'm freaking out just thinking about it. Okay, it's a
Then
little,
that,
and then that's
tell me
how
about
you
that
find it.
that inner feeling, that moment where you can feel it. Because when you
Yes,
said that, I can feel
we
when
feel it. We feel it.
that's that time when I first raised my prices. I was like, that's terrifying. Yeah,
Yes, but
but you,
but like
but
good, like it's that feeling we've forgotten. It's both terrifying and exhilarating. That's how you know you're in the sweet spot. That's how you know you're on that emerging edge, that evolutionary edge. If it's not making you come alive, you haven't made the stakes high enough, or you haven't hit the target of who you are clear enough. So when you hit the target of who you
Mm,
are and you lift the stakes to what you're really meant to be, it starts to get exhilarating and then it gets terrifying. And right there at that edge, that's where you go. And that's how you now set the target, set the goal, and then build the real plan. This is where now, there's one thing to talk about principles and values and virtues, but you got to stop building castles in the sky and you got to saddle that dream so you can
yeah.
actually ride it in the world.
So to tie this in a beautiful, beautiful bow, what what is it for you right now that is that you're on the edge? It's just enough terror right now as
Yes.
you go through this. What is it? What is it for you right now?
Oh, it's again, I just had a vision of Stephen King, how he always wrote. What got him to write was he would envision something that terrified him so much he'd want to lock himself in a closet. And then he would write to exorcise the demons that were in him. That's how he created everything he created. You don't have to create horror, though, to do that. Yeah, for me, I mean, with this book launch and everything, I got caught up in the same old rigmarole with PR firms and machines and agencies and all this stuff. But then this book's called A Whole New Human, and it's how to future-proof your life and work, and it's how to become irreplaceable in a world of AI, what's going to
Mm.
commoditize everything a human can do better, faster, cheaper. And it was like this vision came to me 6 years ago before ChatGPT, and nobody was talking about it. And the vision said, build an ark, the flood is coming. And it showed me that we were at risk at losing everything that made being a human meaningful. And if we lose meaning and purpose, we're cooked. And and it was like, what will matter most? What do we keep on the ark? And it began to reveal to me these human capacities and values and virtues. And so as I got into so it's like it's about being more human, more alive, more awake, more purpose driven, more authentic, all of those things we've been talking about, and then some. And then I realized as I got into launching and building, I was losing more and more of that in myself again. And one day I
Really?
was meditating and the voice said, Derek, you're not launching a book. You're launching a whole new human, literally. So start acting like it. And it was like, oh, duh. And so I basically had to have the courage, and I'm still in it. And it's like, what are the metrics that will matter most, that will be in integrity with me?
Mm.
Is it really about how many books I sell or how much money I make? I have money, I don't need to work, but I do it because I love it. Sure, I'd like to have more, who doesn't? But it's like, what is it really about? And it took a lot of courage to start saying no, to start cutting things away, which is where the word decision comes from, to start pruning the tree, even if it starts to look like a Charlie Brown tree. It's like, oh no, I've killed it. And but to look myself in the mirror and have self-respect and feel like, God damn it, man. Yes, good on you. Like you're being authentic, you're being courageous, you're having the conviction to live the truth as best you can, to tell the truth as best you can in service of the highest good for all, but no matter the cost. That's scary, but I've been working on this for decades to get there. And being okay with whatever the outcome, as long as I know that the input was aligned and was in integrity, because you can never guarantee the outcome. Nobody can. But you do have control over the input about who you are, about how you show up, about what you do and what you don't. That's ultimately where our greatest power comes from. And so I'm in the midst of it. I'll tell you, man, it's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of big gains and
Uh-huh.
losses. But that's kind of been the story of my life too.
Well, that was beautiful to hear, and it's so open to hear what we all go through. Even you're like, hold on, Derek, you know better. Come on, it's beautiful. We should catch ourselves in a moment all the
Yes.
time. So thanks for leaving us with that one question. What is it really about? And be
Yes.
okay with what happens. So, Derek,
Yeah.
look, thank you so much for sharing not only the amazing work that you do and some great
Thank you, bud.
principles, but um, behind the scenes of what it's like for you as you continue to evolve and launch your new book. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. And for those people that want to know more about you and the amazing work you do, how can they reach out? How can they find out more?
Absolutely. Well, get the book. It's a whole new human, and you can go to, you can get it anywhere. But if you want to get over $1,000 in bonuses, including an AI tool, a whole new human tool where you get to coach with me 24/7 and get guidance through the book, discovering where you're vulnerable, where you're undeniable, and how to become irreplaceable in your life, in your work, in building wealth, in this new, brave new world AI age. You can get the book at derekrydall.com forward slash whole new human. And you can, when you plug that in, you'll get access to all of these things, plus the book, which was literally a survival guide for this new age that we're entering, wherever you are in
Fantastic.
your business life.
I love that. Everyone, if you're curious or think it sounds amazing, go and check it out. Go grab it and enjoy it. And again,
Yes.
Derek, thank you so much for being here. It's been
Thank
an
you.
absolute pleasure.
Likewise. Feeling is mutual.
Oh, you're welcome.